Hello, hello. Can you guys
Hello.
hear me? I think we're having some technical difficulties right now. I can't seem to make the stream work because it showed that the connection was poor and it basically like ended my stream, my previous stream. So this is a new one. But it should be good now. So if everything is okay, then we can get started. Hopefully the volume is okay. I
Yep.
think the volume is good. All right. So today there are a few topics that I want to cover in the stream. It's gonna be a short stream because I got stuff to do after, but it's gonna be a fun one. So let's start. All right, you want to start with this one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about height and muscle. Okay, so height and muscle. Oftentimes, when you go online and when you go on YouTube, a lot of people complain about being, for example, too tall and not being able to lift as much weight because of their height. And usually the justification is regarding how long your limbs are. So, for example, if you have long arms, it's going to be difficult for you to bench because the range of motion is going to be longer. That's usually the claim. And there's a lot of sort of hate towards people who tend to be a little bit shorter because um, they can see that people who tend to be shorter can bench a little bit more weight. Given that they only have to move the weight for a small range of motion. I think that's a very reductive way to look at it. Um, I do think that you do have to move the weight for a longer range of motion if your limbs are longer. That's, I think, true. The problem with that is that it doesn't take into consideration the potential that tall people have. So the way that I like to look at it is usually you look at a big or tall glass and then a small glass. Okay, a tall glass. Um, let's imagine the glass being someone's frame. Okay, so if you were to pour water in the glass, right? Let's imagine the water being muscle. So you can fill the glass with water. The tall glass, you can fill it with more water, and the small glass, you can also you can fill it with like less water, right? If you fill both glasses, the tall glass is gonna have more water overall, right? And so meaning that um, going back to like the original claim, so like if you have someone who is tall and has a longer frame, that person usually has a bigger capacity or a higher potential to like gain muscle. So that person is going to be heavier and is going to have like fuller muscle and have higher potential. But in order to get there, they're going to have to um, they're going to have to go through a harder time because they're going to have to go through the range of motion that is longer, and that's going to be more difficult for them to appear stronger. Whereas like the short person, they have a lower potential, but I think their rate of improvement is much more faster. I think that's usually the way that I see it. I don't know if that makes sense.
hmm
Yeah.
I have two things that I want to bring up. So I think that the reason why we tend to see a lot more, um, or a lot more people to be. Wait, the reason why we see a lot of people that are not that tall being like super strong is because in general there aren't that many tall people.
That's
Like,
true. That's a good point. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I didn't think of
And
that.
also, you gotta take in account that not that many people lift. I mean, well, a lot of people lift, but it's compared to the general population is not that much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's just like it's just a matter of filtering over and over and over, and you're gonna figure out that hey, not everyone is over 5'11",
Yeah.
and yeah, therefore there will be less people. And then there's another problem with short people. Uh, is that you might have you ever considered that their bones might not be as dense, their wrist might not be as dense,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, while they can probably hit 225 quicker than I don't know than a tall person,
Right.
there can also be the possibility that they physically cannot reach I don't know the 500, 600
Yeah.
because they'll break their bones or something. Like the risk of injury would be bad. They cannot put any more muscle in that frame.
Right.
Um, I don't know. It's just what I think. I'm
I,
not
I
sure.
think I think generally speaking, um, comparing yourself, comparing your height or taking your height into consideration when it comes to lifting, I mean, like, the difference is definitely real, and it definitely helps or hinders your lifts. But I don't think it's that helpful to like focus on it,
Yeah.
just because comparing yourself to other people is probably not helpful at all. The more productive thing would be to just compare yourself to yourself, because a comparison is a one to one. At the end of the day, when it comes to height, I think that there's give and take, right? Yes, you have a higher potential if you're taller, right? But your lifts are gonna suffer in the short term, right? Let's say you have long arms. Yes, your bench might suck, but your deadlift, that one is gonna be very, very strong. So it depends on like what you prioritize and um, what advantages and disadvantages you have. Everyone has some advantages. Everyone has some disadvantages. You get some, you lose some. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, and for those tall people that are complaining, oh, I can't be strong because I'm too tall. All right, guys, let's be realistic. Strongest man alive, Eddie Hall. Then there's the other super tall man that did like 1,000, like
The
tried
Thor,
to do
Thor,
or I don't know.
Yeah.
All those guys are tall. Come on, like,
Yeah.
you gotta stop, bro.
Yeah, they're like super tall, and so they have like so much like frame to fill up.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, I would imagine that with a bigger frame, you can fill up like so much more muscle, and then you can like exert so much more force.
How come the top 5, the top 10 strongest people are not midgets or not like super short people, right? You know,
Yeah,
you guys
that's
can't
true.
say anything, bro.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what I said before, which is don't you shouldn't care too much about your height. It's not something you can control, so like why worry about it? Instead, worry about something that you can change, which is your body composition and your health. I think that's the most important thing.
Something that you can change and control.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you know, we're assuming that you don't have any sort of condition that prevents you from doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, as long as you do it safe, don't get injured, okay? Don't go too crazy, okay? Lift within your means. You should be okay. You should be okay. There's a video that I want to react to. I think I didn't watch it on purpose because I wanted to take a look at it. Just give me 1 second to pull it up. But I wanted to watch this video and see if I agree with it, because it talks a little bit about like injuries. Let me this one.
Are you sharing it over there?
No, I'm sharing over here.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Just make us a little bit smaller on the. Actually, it's fine. It's fine. Or no, actually, yeah, do make us smaller.
Make it smaller.
Yeah, we can use it later. Don't worry too much about it.
All right, that's good.
Too small. Too small. A little bit bigger. Yeah, that's good.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I think the audio should be good. Screen capture. Okay.
Hey folks, I'm Dr. Mike for Renaissance Periodization. I am a professor of sport and exercise.
Okay.
Yes, give me the ads.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted to watch.
Hey folks, I'm Dr. Mike for Renaissance Periodization. I am a professor of sport and exercise science. I am a bodybuilder. I am a jiu-jitsu grappler, as evidenced by my cool t-shirt. I can think of at least 7 reasons why injuries happen. And I can think of 7 bullet-pointed checklist items to check to make sure that you radically reduce your probability of zigging when you should have zagged within those reasons, and making sure that your chance of injury is as low as they can possibly be. 2 caveats to that before we start. Caveat number 1, can't reduce the risk to 0 because we live in the real world. Caveat number 2 is that sometimes injuries just seem to happen. When you're feeling your best, when your technique is grooved in, pop goes the...
Okay, that is absolutely true, okay? If you ever lift for a long period of time, you'll notice that sometimes you can do all the right things, okay? You can do all the right things. You can stretch after working out, you can warm up before working out, you can do the perfect technique and form, okay? But at the end of the day, if your body doesn't agree with it, it just doesn't agree with it. I remember there was one time that I was doing RDLs and I tweaked my lower back while warming up, while doing the right thing. And so I think that, sometimes it could be that your body is not in the best state to lift that much weight. It could be that you're going through a hard time, or maybe you're stressed, or maybe you didn't sleep enough. Well. Yeah. And so just keep in mind that sometimes they just happen out of nowhere, and it's really difficult, almost impossible, I would say, to fully prevent them. So just keep that in mind.
The weasel, I don't really know what that refers to, but weasel explodes or something. In any case, bad things happen. Sometimes you just can't prevent what fate has in store for you. I know that with my life trajectory. Terrible things worked out. But that's for my psychiatrist. Let's talk about the 7 reasons that injury can happen and what we can do to mitigate each one as much as we possibly can.
Okay, let's see.
First, injury can occur because you have had a previous injury in that area already.
That is true. Oftentimes, when you have an injury on a specific area of your body, there are multiple reasons why that could happen. Okay, so first of all, it could be that the injury never healed properly. So if it never healed properly, maybe you didn't do the proper rehab to heal your injury properly. And so if that's the case, then it's going to be so easy for you to, make it just get injured again in the same area, right? So that's the first one. The second one is that it could be that your frame or your leverages in a way just put that specific part of your body at a higher risk. It's more susceptible for injury for whatever reason. It's just the way that you're built. So you got to keep that in mind, okay?
Anytime, generally, for muscles and connective tissues, this is not the case for bones, which actually get stronger after you hurt them. Muscles and connective tissues do get strong again, but what connects the old injured area is often scar tissue. And the connection of scar tissue to your regular tissue and the connection of scar tissue to itself is just a bit more tenuous than the regular tissue that was there, which is why from the scientific literature, we found something a little bit unfortunate, and that's by a small margin, people who have injured a certain area are more likely than random chance to re-injure it again. What can we do about that? One of the best things you can do about it is to warm up slowly. Warm up properly, which means...
I guess he's going to say, which means warm up, do the exercise slow and through the full range of motion. What do you think he's going to say?
I had nothing in mind, honestly.
Okay, let's see.
That you ramp your loads very gently. If you're trying to squat 300 pounds, don't do some jump squats for a set of 5, rest 10 seconds, and then put 300 pounds on your back. Start with the bar for a set of 10 to 12. Go to 1 plate on a side for a set of 8, 2 plates for a set of 4 to 6, 3 plates finally for a set of 1 to 2. That's 315 pounds, a little more than you were going to squat for reps, and then wait a sufficient amount of time. If you feel a little tight, a little weird, take that 3 plates for another single again, then put 300 pounds on the bar and take that hypertrophy set close to failure like you were planning on it. If you rush the warm-ups, the upside is you retrieve back from life 10 extra minutes that would have robbed you just warming up and not doing whatever it is you wanted to do with your life instead. But what you get in return is a significantly higher risk of injury, which robs a lot more than 10 minutes from your life if it actually comes to fruition. The other thing is, every single rep of your warm-up should be with as good of technique as you are capable of mustering. Some people...
Yeah, so oftentimes, a lot of people, when they warm up, they just kind of go through the motions. I think it's important to keep in mind that when you're warming up, you have to be very intentional with your technique in order to make sure that you're getting used to the movement with that specific technique. So that, because like if you are lifting a specific weight with a lot, like a high load, keeping that technique and that form is going to be much more difficult. And so by practicing your technique, even when you're warming up, I think that helps your body kind of like know how to do it properly, even under the load. It's going to help you a lot.
People warm up on the bench press, and when they do their actual working weight and working sets, they do very good reps, good technique. They get a warm-up weight in their hands, and they just start kind of moving it around, jerking around. One of the benefits of the warm-up is it reminds your brain and your nervous system where you're going to position the bar in space during your work sets, so that not only is your body warm, but the way you're moving is damn near optimized at the end of warm-ups. We're going to learn in a little bit that one of the reasons injuries happen is because you moved a little bit, or actually significantly, away from where you normally move. That can be a hugely reduced probability if you use good technique when you warm up. That way, if you have a pre-existing injury, you're taking a really nice long warm-up, nice and slow, no rush, with excellent technique, so that the probability that you re-hurt that injury is as low as it can possibly be, which is a really, really big deal. And a lot of times people don't take warm-up seriously until they get hurt, and then after they start taking them seriously, which is better than the alternative of getting hurt and then never doing warm-ups again and getting hurt shortly thereafter. But the better alternative is that you see this before you get hurt, at least in a specific area, and hopefully anywhere in your body in the gym, and you can start implementing good, slow, progressive warm-ups right from the get-go, so that maybe you can go an entire athletic career without any major injuries, which would be really, really awesome. Next, number 2 reason that injuries can increase in likelihood is the exposure of the body to high force. If you had to curl a 2.5-pound dumbbell, there is nary a way that you could do it that would get you hurt. If someone said, hey, here's a 2.5-pound dumbbell, hurt yourself with it.
Wait, does that mean like he's just saying like heavy stuff, right? Like you need to exert like high forces? Does that mean like, is he just saying that heavy things?
He's talking about weight.
Next, number 2 reason that injuries can increase in likelihood is the exposure of the body to high force. If you had to curl a 2.5-pound dumbbell, there is nary a way that you could do it that would get you hurt.
Yeah, I think he's talking about weight. So like, I would assume that if you have to like curl like 100 pounds with one arm, and then that's gonna be much more taxing to your muscles for sure.
Oh, the eye, or well, quite honestly, going for the 2.5-pound weight. My God, what the hell can you do with it? How many reps to failure? How bad can your technique be? At the end of the day, high forces are the real proximate cause of injury. It literally requires high forces to pull the tendon off the bone, or the muscle apart, or the muscle off the aponeurosis, whatever that happens to be. Now, in muscle growth training, the way you can wildly reduce your probability of injury is to scarcely, if ever, train with loads that are above in weight than your 5-rep max, resulting in sets of 2 or sets of 3 or sets of 4 or something like that. Because we know scientifically the best growth happens between sets of 5 and probably sets of 30 repetitions. Those sets taken close to failure, of course. But there's no extra growth you get in almost any case if you stop doing sets of 5 and start doing sets of 3. Nonetheless, we see bodybuilders, even at the end of contest prep in some cases, juiced up on all the drugs, getting that crazy mindset, doing singles or doing sets of 2 or sets of 3, and then pop goes the pec, and there goes the bodybuilding career. If you don't have a really hugely, somehow powerful argument to go heavier than sets of 5, don't do it. If you're training for strength, you got to do it because sets of 3 to 6 are that general strength range. But sets of 5 to 30 is the hypertrophy range, and I'll be completely honest with you. If you get really good responses, huge pumps, huge tension, huge soreness, huge growth over the long term from sets of 5 to 10 reps, absolutely incorporate them, at least on occasion. But if in some exercises or muscle groups, you just don't seem to get anything beneficial from sets of 5 to 10 that you can't get from sets of 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and so on, not even really a compelling reason to do any fewer than 10 reps per set in most cases in muscle growth training. So remember that heavy does not equal size. Heavy, defined as anywhere between 5 and 30 reps, equals size. And the higher end of that rep range generally grows muscle, generally about as well as that lower. So if you're really concerned about injury in a particular place, maybe from point number 1, you've injured that place already, there's just no compelling reason to be like, yeah man, can't wait to rehab this area so I can do sets of 5 again. Like, why 5? Why not 8? There's almost never a good argument against that, except for some very, very...
Yeah, so something that you have to keep in mind when you lift is that people often ask questions like, how heavy should I lift? And the answer is, as heavy as you can, given a specific rep range, okay? Mm-hmm. So let's say, for example, that if I want to grow muscle and let's say I want to grow my arms, okay? And so I start doing bicep curls. Should I do with 30 pounds, 20 pounds, 10 pounds? What should I do? It's like, well, let's say let's say your coach tells you, um, do it with like 10 pounds and do 10 reps. Well, are you gonna grow muscle then? The answer is it depends, right? If you are getting close to failure, um, probably you're probably providing the stimulus to grow muscle. Okay. Now, here's the problem. Um, People focus a lot in like, okay, what if I lift close to failure, but instead of doing 10 reps, I do 30 reps or 5 reps. Like, what's up with that? Like, why can I not do 30 reps compared to like 10 reps or 5 reps? Like, what's the difference? And when it comes to muscle growth, I don't think there's that much difference as long as you progressively overload and get close to failure. The main difference is going to come to training for strength or training for endurance, generally speaking. So, like, if you are lifting and then you do 30 reps, if you get close to failure, you're providing enough stimulus for muscle growth, but you're also training your endurance. You're not going to get stronger by lifting 30 like reps for a specific exercise. But if you train at a lower rep range, let's say 5, maybe 6, 7 reps, close to failure, then you will definitely become stronger and most likely gain muscle. Now, the next step would be to think about like, okay, why wouldn't anyone just lift heavy? Because you get the best of both worlds. You become stronger and you become bigger. Why would I ever choose lifting 10, 15, 20 reps? And the answer is because yes, you get an extra benefit from lifting at lower reps, which is becoming stronger and becoming bigger, but the risk of injury is going to be much higher for that. So that's a trade-off that you have to keep in mind.
Very isolated conditions. And in addition to that, if you use fuller, deeper ranges of motion, you can limit the external load that you're using and again cut in some fraction the probability of injury. Remember, forces, high forces, are the things that cause injury. Sometimes the forces are just the internal forces of the muscles pulling against each other, but sometimes there's a lot of weight in your hands and you kind of move like you shouldn't have. Just that sheer amount of weight doesn't kind of matter how it falls. If it's off a little bit, it's going to get you hurt. And if you're doing halfway down bench pressing, you might need 400 pounds and you might get hurt. But if you're doing all the way down bench pressing, you might need 200 pounds. And just like I did with earlier analogy or example of that 2.5-pound weight that you can barely hurt yourself with, that's a scaling relationship. It's a spectrum. You can basically, it's impossible to hurt yourself or damn near with no weight in your hand with a bicep curl, I sure hope. And with your 1 repetition maximum, it's decently likely, on average, very, very low probability, but starting to get into the conversation of, am I going to hurt my bicep? Now, if I told you I want you to use a weight that you can only move in a partial range of motion, will you hurt your bicep? Yeah, that increases the probability a lot because maybe you can full bicep curl 40 pounds with one arm, full range, but partial range you can do the 80s. The 80s, if something goes wrong, is such high force potential, because it's literally more weight, that the probability of injury is just higher. So not only should you rarely, if going for hypertrophy training or muscle growth training by itself, should you rarely do fewer than 5 repetitions per set in a working set, there's also some good reason to say, look, you should probably do full ranges of motion most of the time, so you don't have to do these crazy weights that are the requisite in order to use to get a good effect if you're doing partials. Next, impactful movements, literal impact, where your foot hits the ground or a fist hits your face or something like that. Impact is a much higher risk of injury than non-impact training, and rapid movements, especially changes of direction. So if you bench press like this and then like that, not a ton of really high forces exposed. If you go boom, at that bottom, that transition from eccentric to concentric is a massive force spike we've measured in a laboratory, and in a bench press in which you go boom, even if you grind towards the top and the bottom didn't feel all that hard, that change of direction is the biggest by far single force exposure. And because it happens really quickly, the amount of force imposed into your tissues over time is a crap load. As force divided by time, it's a ton of force, and the thing takes a fraction of a second. Holy crap, that is a lot of tension really fast going through your connective tissues. The probability of injury is higher. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, it's just something we have to be aware of. So, in plyometric training for power training for sports, you have to do the change of direction as fast as possible. It's part of the thing. If you train for mixed martial arts, you're going to get hit and you're going to be hit.
Wait, so I think what he's trying to say here, I think I need to like change, because like if you want to like cut.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just talk.
Well, anyways, so
Like Yeah, yeah, just put it.
Just put it.
Yeah.
Um, I think that what he's trying to say is that generally when you, so what from what I understood was basically like when you go a full range of motion, right? At that moment when you change the direction of where the weight is going, that is when you apply the most amount of force in order to lift the weight. But because you apply the most amount of force in that part of the range of motion, that is also the riskiest part of the range of motion. I think that's basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, when you see pec tears or like really bad injuries, is usually at the stretch position where you're just like trying to lift it up and then you see
when
something
grinding.
Yeah. So that's something to be careful. Now, don't be too scared of those things. Generally speaking, a lot of these people who get these injuries, like really bad injuries, are people who are taking a lot of drugs. Generally for most people, I don't think you need to worry about those kind of injuries because most people are not strong enough to exert that amount of force enough to like completely rip your pec apart. So, yeah.
As long as you're natty.
As long as you're natty. No drugs. Don't do drugs.
Getting things, impact is part of the game. But is it part of the game for muscle growth training? It absolutely is not. So in order to minimize that crazy direction change and that impact, make sure you're controlling the eccentric, that lowering phase, and in the direction change, at least don't go super fast. Maybe just a gentle reversal, or if you want to stay even safer, come down nice and slow, pause for a second or two, and then accelerate the weight back up. Don't jerk it back up from the start, accelerate it so you minimize that change of direction force spike, and then all of a sudden, well, you're doing pretty well for yourself in terms of minimizing injury risk. Number 4, there is a robustness that the human body gains, a buffer against the probability of injury when you expose it to marginally different movement patterns. If your bench press technique is always mechanically identical, every single rep is down to the nanometer the same, and one of those reps gets screwed up and you go half an inch out of your normal range, you have actually made yourself fragile by sticking to that specific of a technique. Absolutely. So there should be a natural amount of, sometimes I touch on the nipple line, sometimes it's a quarter of an inch above, quarter of an inch below, sometimes I arc the bar out, sometimes I go straight, no.
That's actually a point that I've never heard before. So
it makes sense though.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before. It's the idea basically of like switching your technique a little bit, just within the range of acceptable, so that you are more comfortable to like.
Yeah. So you're conditioning your body so it's easier for you to adapt to any situation.
Yeah.
And also that your body remembers sort of like, oh, I've done this before, so it shouldn't be any big trouble.
Yeah, it allows your body to be a little bit more flexible with slightly different ranges of motion, right? Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let me go back.
Big deal. But the other side of the coin is also the case. If you get really wacky with your technique, and if you take a very unusual position in your lifting, especially with high loads, especially with high speeds, your probability of injury goes up substantially. So what can you do about this? A big deal to mitigate this is to start light and easy on new exercises. Remember, it's a new exercise. You haven't done it either ever or in a while. So let's say you're used to doing the Smith machine squat. Great exercise. Then it's your first day, your gym got a pendulum squat. Great machine. You want to use it. Is it a good idea to go right up to your max or work up to sets of 5 or sets of 8? Good God, no. Warm up really slowly and just try some slow eccentric sets of 12 or something like that. Or if you're going to do sets of 5 to 8, make sure you really control it and reverse the direction. And make sure that your technique is really clued in. Get some good warm-ups going. If you expose your body to a new thing it hasn't done in a while, and you go heavy, and you move quick, and you get off track, even if you don't get off track because it's a new position for you, you're going to be having a higher probability of having a bad time with injury. For current exercises that you're doing, if it's not a new exercise, sticking to known, well-practiced techniques with a little bit of variation, but nothing too crazy. If one dumbbell press looks like this and the other one looks like that, your probability of pinging something on that dumbbell press, somebody standing next to you, watch you do all your reps, and one of them was really crazy, and you're, ow, I think I heard something in my chest. You're going to be like, no shit, I could have told you that. Look at how crazy your technique looked. A standardized, slightly variable technique, just normal good technique, is the best inoculator against injury, or one of them that we have. If you do crazy shit, or if you do a new exercise and you try to max out on the first day or really crazy fast movements, you might get hurt, and then you'll have only yourself to blame. You really have only yourself to blame for almost everything that happens to you. Quote,
What happened?
That's what happened when we worked out with the power lifter, bro. My back.
Oh, something moved?
Yeah. Like ever since, bro. like my back. You know.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
But then, do you feel it at all when you were doing the exercise or not?
Did I feel it when we were doing the exercise?
Yeah, as you were doing it.
No, it happened like maybe like 30 minutes after. Like,
Okay. Yeah, I think you got like a really bad strain, and ever since your back hasn't moved the same ever since. So
yeah, it's weird.
My father. I'm kidding. Hey, Dad. Not going to attribute that quote to you in real life. Next, number 5 reason that increases the probability of injury is instability and or slipping. Instability.
Yo.
What? What happened?
Instability and slipping. Like, have you seen those videos of people like slipping while they're doing like a shoulder press or?
I've seen people slipping when they are squatting.
Ooh, that's not good. Yeah.
That one is bad. Like that one, bro.
Like if you slip, right? Obviously you put your body in a position that it was not meant to be, and so obviously, yeah.
So if slipping with no weight is already dangerous enough where you can die, where you can just crack your head open, you know.
Yeah, something that I would say is like
you go faster to heaven.
Yeah.
Express. You go through the express line.
Like when you use machines at the gym, just make sure they're in good condition, okay? Like I've seen people like doing shoulder press, and then because the bench is kind of old, it kind of like the gear kind of switches as you're doing the exercise, and it's like and then you're like, oh, my shoulder. Or like people doing the machine for like chest supported back, and for whatever reason the pin to, because you can adjust how far you want the handle to be, right? And so sometimes that like chest support, the pin is like not necessarily tight enough, and then as you are like stretching, it's just boom, and then it destroys you.
You're at a very vulnerable position. I also think like I don't know, like look, I'm not an expert, but like anatomically, I feel like mammals, like this part, like it's where all our like what is it called, our most
Organs?
important organs are, right?
Yeah.
And but it's also like softer, all of this area, right? Whereas if I were to punch you here, anywhere here, you get hurt more than if I were to punch you on the back. Same way that if you, I don't know, let's say you punch a deer on the back or a cow, like it will hurt them less than from the inside, right? So yeah, you gotta be really careful here. You can, I don't know, pop a fucking rib. I don't know. It's very dangerous. I've seen a video, by the way, totally unrelated. I've seen like unrelated to what I just said, but still related to the topic of bad machines and how you can get injured by them. Is I saw this guy. I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he was doing the exercise that
face
I
pulls.
Yeah, the face pulls, right? But he was putting a very heavy load, and the machine, right, wasn't really attached to the ground. So when he pulled, the whole thing came to him.
Oh,
Yeah, that was bad.
bruh,
That was bad.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. All right, let's keep going.
Or here, last one.
Okay.
Okay, so they are squatting, right? A very heavy load. Boom, boom, boom. Right, and then there's also the safety rack right here, right? Imagine here, right? And they're about to fail. They're no, it's too heavy, They put it here, and then the whole thing like flips.
Oh yeah. There's plenty of videos of those. Yeah.
Those ones are famous, but yeah. And they're like, well, you're not supposed to put that much weight, but it's supposed to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Basically. So.
Is bad for strength and muscle growth anyway, because if your body detects that it's unstable, and it does this very, very well, completely subconsciously, I might add, it doesn't allow the biggest parts of your muscles that grow the most to even contract as much as they would, and thus your muscles don't even grow as much as possible. So that Bosu ball wobble board shit, not only is it kind of making you look a little bit like a clown, hey, look Looking like a clown, if it's for the gains, all good. But it's for not the gains. And in addition to that, if you're unstable or if you slip on stuff, that could be an absolutely huge risk of injury. I'll tell you this, last that I was aware of in the literature, maybe this is outdated,
I swear.
the number one cause of lifting related injuries in gyms in America is people tripping on stuff and falling and hitting themselves. It's not even the lifting. That's how much slipping and tripping and instability is a big deal. You don't even have to be lifting for you to do it in a way that gets you hurt. So, how do you minimize the risk of this?
There's dumbbells everywhere.
Oh yeah,
On the floor. It's like it looks like an obstacle course.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yep.
They don't put the weights back. They just leave everything.
It's everywhere. Like all the equipment, all the handles are like absolutely everywhere. You need to like walk from one side of the gym to the other side to find like safety clips. Yeah, it's annoying. It was, but it was a good gym.
It was a good gym.
It was a good
They
gym.
had the Ronnie Coleman dumbbells. It's crazy.
Yeah, they look like those dumbbells that you only see in like in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they were heavy, bro.
Yeah.
Whatever weight was like on the dumbbell, like the number, it was 5 pounds more. So it was like 80 pounds. No, it was 85, bro. That was they were pretty crazy.
Find a stable lifting footing. If you're doing leg presses and your feet are kind of different alignment and you're kind of coming up on your toes and your knees are wobbling, man, I'm not betting you're not going to get hurt. But if you really find good footing, you find nice shoes, maybe weightlifting shoes that really grip that pad really well, and your feet aren't moving, everything is stable, your technique has you nice and rigid, something powerlifters call staying tight, then that is going to be a big inoculator or reducer of injury probability. And if you're doing the wiggle in order to get another rep, you are risking injury big time. Some people will bench, and as they bench and the bar slows down, they'll do this kind of stuff. You are literally introducing instability into the equation. If you get hurt, it'll be obvious to everyone around you why you got hurt. If you see someone that is very stably, under control, lifting moderate loads, and they get hurt, back to what I said at the beginning of this chat, you just kind of had it coming. Whereas if you see someone wiggling around and using crazy velocities and super heavy weights in an exercise they haven't done in a while, it's like if they don't get hurt, you're like, well, that guy's just lucky because he should have gotten hurt. And if there's any justice in this world, he'll get hurt on his next set. I'm kidding, but you guys know what I mean. Number 6, reason that people get hurt in the gym is from experiencing unusually high loads, weights you're not used to, not just heavy weights so heavy that you're not used to them yet, and unusually high volumes. You're used to doing 5 sets for your quads, and then one week you're like, this program on the internet from a random website seems good. 15 sets of quads that day. Cooks your quads.
Okay, hold on.
I think I got my shoulder destroyed because of that.
I think that's exactly what happened to us when we were training with a powerlifter, because usually we do like 3 sets, right? How many sets did we do? 5, 6?
5 sets of my 1 rep max for, I don't even know. Okay, wait. 5 sets of my 1 rep max, and yeah, and keep in mind I was trying to shoot for 2.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. That
was a bad idea.
That's asking for an injury.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. Yeah, but he didn't care. He didn't even warn.
I mean, yeah, he didn't say it. Well, I mean, we're just following. We should have. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. It's a good experience.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Because we survived.
Because we survived.
Breaks a lot more shit than it heals. The next day you do legs, ping, something goes and your quad gets hurt. Unusual stuff. So how do we mitigate that? Well, it's really straightforward. When you start a new block of training or a new mesocycle, you want lower volumes to begin with. So if you finished your last progression at 12 sets for your quads, you take a week of deload where you're super easy training. You change some exercises, change some loads. Don't just go doing 12 sets again and don't be like, well, 2 weeks ago I did 12. Overload means 14. No, go back to 6 or 8 or something very moderate and then slowly whittle your way back up there. The good news is you're going to get so much anabolic resensitization from that week of deloading and easy stuff that all of a sudden, when you go back with lower volumes, not only are you largely inoculated from this kind of freak injury, but also you're going to get an awesome effect. Anything more would have been overkill, so why not reduce those volumes? And of course, with loads.
So do you think it's a good idea to introduce like a variation of different exercises in a lighter load for your deload week? Like it's less heavy, but then these are exercises that you never train.
In a deload week, yeah. I mean, like, do you usually train for hypertrophy?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you should be fine. Yeah. Um, Trying to hit different muscles from different angles might even promote recovery. Just like
Yeah.
making sure to like pump um, some blood into the muscles that you're trying to recover, assuming that you're in a deload.
Mhm.
Um, I don't see why it would be a bad idea. And also like you get to try different exercises and machines where maybe you might start liking different
Yeah.
ones,
I
right?
feel like it could make it fun.
Yeah,
It could make the gym more fun, a lot more variety. Yeah.
yeah.
Look, if you worked up to a 500-pound leg press for 10 6 months ago and you haven't done leg presses in a while, don't start at 500 for the love of God. Start at 455 pounds. And then next week you might be able to throw, 465, 75, 85. And by the time you come back around 500, you'll be doing sets of 14, PRs all around. And the entire time, your body doesn't care because it's growing. Remember, if it's between roughly 5 and 30 repetitions of your mat, or roughly 5 and 30 repetitions, if those sets are taken close to failure, your body doesn't give a shit. If it's the heavy or the light, it grows you either way. Some people have this weird logic, which I understand because I used to think this same way myself of, look, my best effort on leg press was 500 pounds. Okay, 6 months ago. Okay. I've since been hack squatting and hit a ton of PRs. Great. If I come back to leg pressing, if I do anything less than 500 pounds, my first day, it's a waste of time. Or at best, it's going to just be slow ride until I get back to 500, and I won't gain any muscle until then, and then I'll just start gaining muscle. That's not how it works. Remember, you get novelty back. The amount of muscle 500 pounds for sets grew you at the end of 6 months of leg pressing 6 months ago. 455 pounds can grow more than that now, or just about as much. You're fresh for the leg press and ready. So reduce those loads and slowly ramp them up. And don't increase the loads by a lot in any one given week. That's a very related problem you can mitigate heavily. So for example, people say, okay, 500 was a bad idea.
Ego.
455,
It's ego.
and then
It's ego. But that makes so much sense. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we don't realize, right? Like it's just like, you're just
No, yeah,
so focused on progressing,
Mhm.
you're not even like looking out for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue where oftentimes if you try an exercise and let's say you do 100 pounds in that exercise, okay, and then you try a different exercise that is comparable, like that is similar but not exactly the same, right? That that different exercise, because it is just similar, it is not the same, right? Chances are you're not gonna be fully used to it, and so you're not gonna be able to like lift the same amount of weight from the original exercise. And so, but then it hits your ego because the exercise is somewhat similar. Where like, no, there's no way. How come I can do this amount of weight in exercise A, but in exercise B, I'm like so weak, right?
Why am I the man in exercise A, but the in exercise B?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's exercise B. It starts
Yeah.
with a B. Yeah.
Yeah. So, something that I heard a long time ago, which is, I don't remember who it was who said it, but they said that like girls are actually way better in that regard compared to guys when they go to the gym.
Oh yeah, because
There's no ego involved in that. Like
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
care
yeah.
how heavy they have to go. They just do the exercise properly and that's it.
they
right?
do it properly, and they're also scared to do it wrong.
Yeah.
That's it's a priority problem, right? We are trying to look like the man. We're trying to be stronger. Yeah, impress the boys, impress the gals.
The funny part is that never happens. You always impress the boys.
Yeah,
the girls
yeah,
don't
yeah.
give a fuck, bro.
Yeah, you should. Oh, you like these biceps, and then they're like, yeah, it looks
good.
It looks good, and you're like, it just looks good. Okay.
But
And
then
then
the guys would know the measurements, like, bro, 15, 16 inches? Oh.
Oh yeah, I think yours is bigger than mine. Let's go to the locker rooms and compare.
Measure each other.
Yeah.
it goes really well. And the next week they go, we think, man, feeling pretty good. Throw a 515 on that motherfucker. 515, boom, something goes in the quad. That's a huge jump. So the part 2 of this is don't make big jumps. So I'll reiterate. Your volumes, start them lower, slowly ease up. Don't do low volume and then go crazy high. For your loads, start lower and slowly ease up. Both have that same exact relationship. Lastly, another predictor of injury, point number 7, is a high degree of either local fatigue, which means your muscles and joints connective tissues in that part of your body are pretty fucked up, or a high level of systemic fatigue. Your nervous system, your hormonal system, every part of you is just dog tired. A lot of times in such high fatigue states, we are no longer capable of as fluid and as athletic of movements. Our physical ultrastructure, our joints, connective tissues, muscles, etc., are literally degraded and have micro tears in them. It's kind of a recipe for injury. The only reason that high fatigue doesn't cause more injuries still is because a lot of times you're so weak in that state, you're not even strong enough to get hurt. But still plenty strong to get hurt in most cases. Just be lucky you're not more hurt. How do you make sure that you do something about this to reduce your probability of injury? First, good fatigue management is essential, which means proactively eating well,
very well spoken.
resting plenty, having a logically designed program that doesn't burn you out all the damn time, sleeping well, and having a program design that makes sense.
You know what this feels like? It feels like I'm in a lecture right now.
Yeah. I know.
Like he's telling you, like I only pay attention to him because it's in a video format, right? But if he was in a lecture lecture hall, right?
Yeah.
All the way down and just showing us PowerPoints, bro, I wouldn't pay attention at all.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what, this guy's so boring. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that I wanted to mention about what he said was when he talked about one of the good techniques or one of the good strategies to manage your fatigue efficiently is sleeping, bro. Sleeping well, sleeping enough. Let's say 90% of the injuries that I've had, which are minor but still, are probably because I didn't sleep well the night before, honestly. If I'm too fatigued, if I'm too tired, and if I didn't sleep well, and I just tough it out and then go to the gym, chances are I'm gonna be like, oh, my shoulder doesn't feel well. Like it just feels like tight or whatever, or there's like a slight pain or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Especially if you've been lifting for a while and you've been improving, because obviously if you're a beginner, I still recommend you to sleep well and take recovery seriously. But let's face it, like Dr. Mike said, if you're lifting heavier weights and and you're probably gonna have more ego, right? So you're probably gonna want to perform. Just take your recovery as serious as, I don't know, your lifting or your weights.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think the more advanced you are, the more important recovery is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Especially if you're natty.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm gonna finish every segment like.
Especially if you're natty.
For example, if you hit legs on Monday, don't hit legs on Tuesday or Wednesday. They're not recovered yet. Hit them on Thursday. That way you hit your legs, all the stuff in there that could get hurt heals plenty, and then midweek you hit them again, it heals plenty. Symmetrical or roughly symmetrical programs, which give all of your muscles of your body an even amount of time to heal between the next session, is what is meant by a logical program design. Good fatigue management. Also, starting on the lower end of volumes and going up instead of starting with crazy high volumes. And if you notice that your fatigue is starting to get excessively high, which the best way to figure that out is if you're no longer hitting PRs in the gym, you're now in a position where
my push-pull leg that looked more like a bro split, because I would separate a day specifically for my arms and shoulders, did also give me a lot more recovery time. So that makes sense why I was able to improve on my incline so quickly in the span of like a month. That makes sense because I have like 4 days in between like doing that.
Yeah. Like if you leave some space in between repeating days.
Mm-hmm. Like I still did some incline for my chest, but I did I did another exercise which was the Smith machine bench press for my shoulder and arm day, and it was more for the pump on my shoulder, and the pump on my shoulder, to train my shoulder and get a little bit of pump on the chest so I can look at it in the mirror. So it's like, but I would put lighter weight obviously, because but I think that's the reason why I improved so quickly. Now that I think about it, right? Like he's bringing it at this point, and I didn't even consider that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, let's go.
Where you might be flatlined in strength or even kind of getting a little bit weaker, your muscles feel flat, you feel out of energy, your desire to train is low. Don't just take more pre-workout, scream a lot, and grind through that kind of stuff. That's a recipe for potential injury. In that case, practice the recovery modalities, such as take a recovery session. If that's a shit session in the gym that day, take the rest of the session off. Basically, just go through the warm-ups, go home. Potentially, you could do recovery half weeks. A half week of only ultra easy training can really restore and recover you so that you don't get hurt and you have better performance for a few weeks after. Obviously, take deloads. These are week-long periods of week-long double recovery half weeks back to back every 4 to 8 weeks or something like that. And then lastly, active rest phases. Most people that train hard consistently should take about two-week periods of active rest, which means basically you don't go into the gym. If you do, it's warm-ups only. Just kind of live your life. Eat food, prance around in the meadows, take it nice and easy. That gives your body a break and a chance to heal deeper proto-injuries that now will never come up. But if you're grinding and grinding and grinding all the time, sooner or later something will pop. And again, you will only have yourself to thank for that sort of thing. Now, lastly, what are some tools that you can use to help with all of these things? First, if you download the RP Hypertrophy app, which is in the link below, every single exercise can do all this programming stuff that I recommended for you. And it even has technique videos in every single exercise so that you know what good technique is, know what good cadence is. This app, well, main thing is it'll get you more jacked, but also it'll get you less hurt over the long term. And I said nutrition was a big part of reducing injury risk. The RP Diet Coach app can take care of every single part of your nutrition plan. It's super cheap, it's super easy, it's on your phone, and it'll get all the stuff that you need from that dietary perspective. Folks, stay safe out there. Don't be scared of the gym. The gym is one of the safest places in the world, even compared to almost every sport they've ever tested. But by using these principles and practices, you may be able to still further lower your injury risk so you can enjoy your gains for longer. All right, that was fun. Hit the like button, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. See you guys next time.
Wait,
Oh,
check.
Guillermo. Hey.
Yo.
Hey. Give me 1 second. Let me just. Viva Barcelona. All right.
How is the gym?
¿Cómo va? Todo bien, todo bien. ¿Qué tal todo?
¿Cómo van las cosas allá? ¿Has estado entrenando o no?
We should put subtitles. We're gonna make short about this.
Yeah. I mean, we can either. I mean, he can speak English. He just text.
Yeah. I had an injury. What? Where?
No.
My hip? Recently?
What exercise?
But I'm stronger. Good. Yeah, that's good
to hear. That's good to hear. What exercise?
I'm not sure if he knows the name.
Squat with weight. Okay. Like free weight, like la barra nomás
O la máquina.
o la máquina.
I felt the pain yesterday.
Okay.
All right, be careful, okay? We're just talking about injuries here.
Yeah. If you want, you can watch the replay of the live stream later, and then you can watch. Actually, we can send you the video, honestly.
Just put it in the chat.
Yeah, just put it. Bueno, es que no sé si está en la computadora o no. O sea, mándaselo en privado.
Okay, se lo mando después entonces.
Shoulders.
un segundo.
I had the bar.
Over my shoulders. Oh, front squat?
And
I feel I could carry more weight.
Oh.
Hello, guys. Mastermind.
yeah, that's my friend.
But it made me feel scared. Yeah. That makes sense.
I understand.
Just be careful and slowly progress, okay?
Yeah, you're probably gonna want to like lower the weight for now, until you feel more comfortable with it. But the pain made me feel okay. Yeah, you already read that.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. Something I want to touch on really quickly is using relative strength as a measure of lifting standards. So. I think it was last week, this week, I uploaded a short basically talking about the lifting standard, okay? And I basically made the case that for regular people, if you can bench more than one plate, you're probably considered intermediate, generally speaking. And then if you are someone who lifts regularly, if you lift more than 225, then you can be considered intermediate. And I gave the caveat that it's a very general guideline, and it's probably not very useful because there are so many different variables that you need to take into account when it comes to evaluating someone's level, lifting kind of like level. And I got a couple of comments in that video where people were saying that a better way to measure the level of a lifter would be to use relative strength. So, like, if you can lift, for example, a certain amount of weight that is relative to your body weight. So, I think usually the common standard would be like if you can lift more than 1.5 times your body weight, then you're considered an intermediate. And I think that was a really good point. I was familiar with the concept of relative strength.
I think it's one of the first things I learned.
Yeah, but then I don't know why it didn't occur to me last stream, but I think that's one of the ways that you can measure your level like much more accurately, because it takes into consideration everyone's sort of like individual body weight, and it gets rid of like sort of the different variables that affect like multiple people. Yeah.
He wrote something else, but you were clip farming.
Let's say, so well, better resting for a week without squats. Yeah, just try the machines or something. I think
like the machines are a lot more stable, and just make sure you don't put a lot of weight. Make sure to focus on your technique. Low weight, and just don't overdo it too much. You know, take it like therapy. Take it more like a warm up, like the warm up I taught you, right?
Yeah, lower the weight.
Yeah, take that approach.
Go slowly, and once you feel comfortable again to go heavy, then you can try to do that again and see how you feel. Okay.
Yeah.
The most important thing is not to get injured, because guess what? If you're injured, you cannot train at all. So it's better to not risk it.
It's better to get to that weight progressively. Rather than jumping around, right?
Yeah. Okay, so something that I wanted. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because we were having this discussion a couple of days ago. Okay. The question is, do you think you can build muscle with zero protein intake, right? And when we were having this discussion...
Wait, hold on. Let the chat respond, right? Ask them the question.
Okay, do you think you can build muscle with zero protein intake?
All right, let's see if Crazy Mind says anything.
Crazy Mind.
Crazy... Wait, what is it?
Mastermind.
Sorry, my bad. Crazy Mind.
I don't think so.
Okay. Mastermind is going to be a future doctor, so he should know. All right. Well,
you need to eat more.
Okay. I guess it works. All right, give the answer. I mean, or give
okay. So when we were having that discussion, I think your intuition said like, yeah, you should be able, if you just eat more, like there should be enough nutrients for you to build muscle.
It was more like, well, if you're not eating protein, I guess you can eat like other things to compensate, and just like sort of like train a little bit like harder, and then you see a lot less, but you see something, right?
But the true answer is that you can't, because unfortunately protein is the building blocks of muscle, basically. Is basically asking to build a house without bricks, in a way, where it's the main material that your body synthesizes in order to build that muscle. And so now,
like, it's like the fuel.
Yeah. And something that came to my mind when we were having that discussion was, okay, that is that makes sense, but how do you explain animals whose like diets are completely like vegetarian, but they have crazy amount of muscle, right?
Gorillas.
And like gorillas, for example. And I searched it up on Google, and it said that they're basically built different because they have like gut microbiome thing that basically like produces amino acids to create those muscles. And so it's crazy.
You see what he said? He said
not being vegan. A balance between your weight too, not being vegan. Embrace meat and chicken.
Yeah.
Yes. It basically it makes things much easier if you're not vegan, I think.
Yeah.
Not to say that vegans cannot build muscle. You definitely can, but you have to be a lot more knowledgeable on the sources of protein that you need to eat.
I think the hack is being vegetarian. That way you can crack 10 eggs on your cake. Right?
Drink a bunch of milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the answer basically is no, you cannot build, as humans, we cannot build muscle with absolutely like zero protein intake. So like if you think that just by eating more rice and rice only, okay, you can build muscle, then no, that's not true. You have to eat protein.
Or you can get bit by a radioactive gorilla.
Become gorilla man. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the self-improvement section. So let me change the light. 1 second.
Green for growth, you know.
Boom.
Okay. Vegans have a more difficult path to build muscle. True.
Yeah, definitely. Again, you need to be way more knowledgeable in order to be able to know your protein sources. And the problem with vegan protein sources is that they're not complete proteins, meaning that when I say complete protein, I mean that they don't have a full amino acid profile. And
wait, does that mean you have to consume more?
No, that means that you need to consume different sources in order to have that full amino acid profile. So like, you know, it can't be just like beans or peas.
So if I eat beans all day, it doesn't work?
No. I mean, it's not complete.
But if it's
well, actually,
if it's
beans
complete,
specifically,
can
I
I
don't know. Yeah. Like complete proteins come from like meat sources. And I think there's actually like a grading for like different.
Oh yeah. I think there's a website or something.
Yeah, but I forgot what the name was. But anyways, here's the thing, okay? If you're not vegan, you don't have to worry about any of this. Just eat meat, okay? Drink your protein powder, you're okay. If you're vegan, just make sure to eat protein from different sources. Like it can't be just like beans. Yeah, it can be a combination of like beans, soy, peas. I don't know what other vegan things have protein, but yeah, just make sure to eat it from different sources or buy vegan proteins. Those are actually complete because they're designed specifically to be complete proteins, but they taste like shit. So be careful with that. Okay.
Just bake it on a cake, bro.
Yeah.
But you can't put egg. It's too difficult.
Yeah.
It's too difficult.
They are more expensive. That bald dude said he's rich, so he doesn't buy proteins. We peasants buy. I'm definitely paraphrasing, but the message was the same.
Who's the bald dude? Mike Israel?
I think he means Mike Israel.
Oh.
I didn't watch that video, so I don't know.
Yes, he said yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to self-improvement a little bit because I think we're done with the fitness
Guillermo,
section.
have you seen the shorts that we uploaded? We finally hit 2K. Twice. PR.
PR. Oh, you know the not the one that was uploaded today, but the one before got 2.6K.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I did put a shit ton of effort on that one.
Yeah.
Not yet. Need to catch up. Yeah.
After the stream, okay. You can
After
go
the
and
stream,
check it
go
out.
in the shorts tab and then start doom scrolling on that. And start doom liking too.
Doom liking, yeah. Give me that algorithm boost. Okay, self-improvement section. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Okay, before we get into that, okay, so basically this is how I come up with topics to talk about on stream, okay? I just have stupid conversations with random people in my day-to-day life, okay? And then if something is interesting or funny, I just write it down in my notes, and then we can talk about it on stream. That's basically what I do.
Yeah, he doesn't tell you if he says something stupid. He starts typing.
So we're talking about like, you know how like when you're a kid, right? You pee the bed, right? Okay. So has it ever happened that have you ever experienced where basically you pee the bed when you're too old to do so?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not talking like recently, but like maybe like when you were like 9, 10, something like that, right? And you know how it gets you, right? Like usually you're having a peaceful dream. You're sleeping and dreaming, okay? And then in your dream, you're going to the washroom. This beautiful washroom with beautiful urinals, okay? And then you're like, oh my god, I want to pee so bad. And then you just go and release. And then before you realize, like, what the fuck?
Wait, why is it spilling all over me? What the fuck? Yeah, no, it happens.
Yo, your brain trolls you. That's basically your brain trolling you.
Yeah.
And then the dumbest part is like, I don't know if I'm the only one. I'm sure, like you said that it happened to you too, right? Where basically, like, when you're older, when that happens,
Yeah.
when you're like dreaming, and again, it's a beautiful washroom, okay? And then with beautiful urinals. And then you go and pee, and you actually dream that you're peeing, but then when you wake up, nothing happened. Like, you're fine.
Yeah. No, I panic. So mine is a lot trickier. Like, they really want me to leak. Okay, so mine is more like, I'm having a very interesting conversations with my friends, right? Oh yeah, this. Oh yeah. And I'm like, hold on, I need to go to the bathroom. Be right back. And I go, open the bathroom, yeah, start peeing. And then I start feeling, something is wrong. I feel wrong. Did I pee myself? So you know what my dream does? My dream tells me, yeah, you're peeing, keep peeing. Oh, it's actually a dream. And we're gonna make you feel like you actually pee yourself. So then when I wake up panic. Oh my god, is everything okay? I check, touch, backhand, front hand. No, I didn't pee. But I did wanna pee. So then I actually go to pee.
Yo, it trolls you so hard.
Bro, it triple trolled me, bro.
You fell into the genjutsu.
Yeah. Bro, imagine Tsukuyomi that does that to you. Like, you're peeing yourself all day. Yeah. And you're gonna pee yourself for the next 42 hours.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be a yellow moon.
Yellow moon. Oh my god, yeah, that's anyway, that's a goofy conversation that we had. Okay, let's actually move on to self-improvement, okay? I want to talk a little bit about, and this is probably the last topic of the stream. I want to keep it short today. But basically, talking about different advice for different people. Something that I've noticed recently is that, everyone knows that, everyone knows that everyone is slightly different in the way that they deal with their life. So, for example, right? You have a group, usually there's two types of people. You have one type who are, like kind of lazy. They like to procrastinate. They don't really take things that seriously. And they do things because they have to, but and then that's it. On the other hand, you have people who work super hard all the time. They're constantly like obsessed with trying to improve themselves, right? And trying to become better. And I'm not gonna make a judgment as to like which one is better, but I will say that I feel like the mainstream, or I don't like that word. I think that the popular kind of advice for everyone is usually like, it's okay, just keep working, like work harder, keep improving, and keep going and whatever. And although I think that that's good advice for the majority of people, I don't think it is applicable for those who are already doing that, because I feel like there is a group of people who actually need to hear words that encourage them to do the opposite in a way. If you already have a group of people who put already, like, they're workaholics, right? They always try to improve. They're always looking for ways to become better. I think that usually these type of people have a lot of sort of like a troubled personal view of themselves, where they don't give themselves enough credit and they don't trust themselves that much. And that is a little bit sad to see, because these people, because of their hard work, they can achieve so much. They achieve like everything they propose themselves to do, right? but yet acknowledge um, they never acknowledge their efforts. And I feel like it's the whole point of encouraging people to work hard, to keep improving, to look for ways to become better, is so that at the end of the day you feel fulfilled. But for those who are obsessed with that kind of like process, I feel like if you never acknowledge what you did before, what you've accomplished, that fulfillment is never going to you're never going to feel that fulfillment, you know? So I would say that when it comes to like advice on whether you should keep going or whether you should take a break and give yourself some credit, I think that it has to be like person dependent, meaning that like not all advice is for all people. If you see someone that maybe you know that they're not working their hardest, maybe you know that they're not as eager to try to become better, I think the advice of like work harder and keep improving, and look for ways to become more fulfilled, I think that's good advice. But that advice is really bad advice for people who are already doing that. But I don't think a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah, you have to assess the information, right? Not everyone has the. Not everyone has the. Not everyone have the. Oh, wait, how do you even say it?
Not everyone has the.
Yeah. Okay. Nah. I don't know why I'm so confused today. Maybe it's bedtime. But not everyone has the same like diagnosis. Like a doctor, right? If you're sleeping all day, they're not gonna give you sleeping pills, right? And you shouldn't, just because it worked with the last patients, and especially if the diagnosis is not the same, right? Yeah, it's like a spectrum. You wanna, like Thanos say, perfect equilibrium.
Yeah.
Perfect balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to push toward a, like anything on the extreme will be bad,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I just feel that I need to give a little bit more awareness to those people who, because I feel like popular advice is, keep working harder and keep improving and whatever.
Yeah, they
and
haven't tried hard enough and stuff.
yeah, and that's fine, and I don't disagree with that, but I think that there should also be advice talking about giving yourself some credit, appreciating your accomplishments, looking back and acknowledging what you've achieved.
Yeah, just try to balance your life, and if anything, I'm more leaning towards like work harder and do this because I because I some I like to procrastinate every now and then, right? So that advice goes well with me, number one. And then, but even then, it's like I forgot what I was gonna say.
The ADHD hit you
I
really
forgot
hard.
what I was gonna say, bro. I had a good idea, but then it like
Okay.
made me forget. Yeah, I'm more leaning towards work hard and everything, but yeah, it has to be a healthy balance. Like you have to. Oh yeah, but when you are leaning more towards that advice, I suggest you to appreciate even more when you do it. Like you need to be able to appreciate when you actually do it. So if I set my goal, hey, I'm gonna study all day today, and I actually do it, I need to appreciate that because I did it. I need to positively reinforce that. I need to say, hey, because I did that, I can eat ice cream today. I don't know.
Yeah.
An example, right?
Yeah. Set up like different patterns where you can positively reinforce your actions.
Yeah.
And
so
that
that
way,
you can relate them to positive things.
Yeah. It's just like kind of sad to see like so many people who are always working hard, but then never trusting themselves for whatever reason, even though they have the capacity to do so.
This is the dark side of the successful people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think here's what I'll say in general. Like, I don't know in which group you fall under, but I will say that, um, if like which it doesn't matter like where you fall under. Okay, all that matters is that yes, you should be encouraged to work hard, but you should also be encouraged to look at your own accomplishments and appreciating them and giving yourself some credit, patting yourself in the back, trusting yourself a little bit more, and trusting your capacity. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, those achievements don't mean anything. There's no fulfillment there. There's no
And
nothing
it
there.
will eat you up, honestly.
Yeah. So
Because
what's the point?
it because there's no point. You'll be you'll be doing something that doesn't do anything according to you, so you'll feel hopeless, and then eventually it will eat you up.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's everything I had planned for the stream. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Anything else? No, I think maybe if we can talk to the chat a little bit more, that's it. I'm actually very happy that Guillermo joined. We can talk to him a little bit of interaction today.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And then mastermind, mastermind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys have anything in mind or you want to like chat a little bit, just feel free to talk in the chat. If not, then we might just end the stream earlier today.
I have stuff to do today, but we can talk. We can talk. I want to know a little bit more. No, yeah. It's back to 0, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I think yeah, we'll just end the stream today. We have some stuff to do, so all right, if you are still here, just thank you for staying all the way. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And yeah, just take a look at my shorts. If you subscribe and you like the content, yeah, just stay tuned. We're gonna try to be a little bit more consistent, but in terms of like shorts, we are always posting. So
Yeah.
in that regard, just yeah, expect some more content coming out.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
See you guys.
See you guys next time. Probably in 2 weeks, because next weekend we'll be busy.
Send the thing to